She felt as though she'd been waiting to see this book for her entire life. With the publisher having announced an official release date, booksellers all over the country had begun taking pre-orders for the first printing. She had only to wait a little longer. As she stood in line, waiting her turn to pay a deposit to ensure her copy, she thought back to the first time the words had presented themselves to her. At first, she didn't know what this story would become, what it would mean to her. How could she? It was just another story among many, just another book on the shelf. But as words turned to pages and pages became a world, she found herself entranced, lost, and in love. It was as though this story, this one apart from them all, was what her lifetime of reading had led to, what her dreams had long been whispering of. When she finished the first, she had to dive immediately into the next. Thankfully, she didn't have to wait, the words flowed. But following the next book, the words ran out. She'd have to wait now. Her world fell apart. She was torn between the joy of what she'd uncovered and the tragedy of not knowing what happened next. But now, as she gave the cashier her information and money, the catharsis of ensuring her possession of the next volume only served to heighten the anticipation. She couldn't help but grin like an idiot as she walked out of the bookstore. Her smile was plastered across her face, and she could not break it. Not until she got another impatiently worded text from her editor. Her brows came together as she thought about how much work she still had to do. The date was set. She'd just confirmed that herself. She'd better hurry home and finish writing it.
Today we're talking about anticipation, that excitement that you feel when you are waiting for that new release, that book series that you love and you're getting that next edition, when your author finally is releasing another book in the collection, when you are waiting for that juicy story that you just can't get enough of. I know for me, I definitely have dived into the book hype. I will pre-order, follow the author's news updates leading into the release. I've waited in crazy lines for that first edition. I love chatting with friends, trying to figure out if I can get somebody else to join me in and get excited and waiting for that next book. I know even with like pre-ordering, I will check my inbox. I'll make sure to see that I have that confirmation email, and then a week or or two later, going back and making sure that it's still there, that I definitely have that book coming to me. Today, we're going to talk about books that we have been excited for, books and authors that we have twiddled our fingers and tried to take up the time in between when we have heard about the book, when we've pre-ordered the book, when we've learned of its existence, and that feeling that we get, and our experiences in books that have made us feel that excitement. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely get very excited with new books from my favorite authors, or when a new series is coming out from someone that I love, or that new edition. What are your guys' experiences with that feeling of anticipation, or do you experience it differently?
So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here, just to be that total wet blanket counterpoint to this. Because I don't is the easy answer, and it's not just with books. It's with all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't know why, it's just a thing that I developed at a young age where I don't anticipate. I don't get anxious. If anything, I go out of my way to make sure that there's no anticipation of anything. Like, even if I'm kind of outside of the book topic here a little bit, but like when I order a package and they give you the tracking number, I don't copy the tracking number because I don't need to know. I don't need to know when my package is going to show up. It's going to show up whether it takes 3 days or whether it takes 2 weeks. It'll be a pleasant surprise when it arrives. And so that's kind of the way I am with books too. I'm like, yeah, there's book series that I'm into, and I look forward to the next one, and things like that. But and obviously, there's books on my to be read list that I will get around to, and I'm like, won't that be nice when I actually get around to it? I don't actually anticipate at all?
Yeah, and I suppose I fall somewhere in the middle. Um, for the most part, I don't really get that excited. I don't get to that level excited about very much. Not that I don't. That makes it sound like I'm just in this sort of very dour life where I just sort of, oh well, another enjoyable book. I guess I'll have to get this one too. I don't. It's not quite like that. It's not quite so, you know, sad sack,
Like
I
Dragon.
guess, or something. Yeah, it's not quite like. Well, I mean, it's not like that, but
No, I'm
that's not what he
teasing.
said. But I made it so like I don't anticipate anything. I have complete without like I have no emotion about it. It's not that. I don't feel like I have to be there opening day, or or if that happens, it's got to be so rare. I can't think of any instance when I've ever done that specifically.
All right. Well, that's ridiculous. I think maybe are we canceling this episode now because you guys aren't excited about books? Yeah, I don't know. I do though. I do get excited about by books that I love and authors that I love, to the point where of course, I love chatting with you guys about this kind of stuff, and I want to turn other people into hungry book monsters and make them also go through the torture and excitement of obsessively thinking about their favorite books being released. So maybe this series, I can turn you guys into book monsters too in that way. I'm kind of doubtful on Dragon. I don't know if I make him.
I don't know if I need any help liking books more.
Yeah, I like books, man. I mean,
I know. Just the hype.
Yeah.
You just want to turn me into like a window licker or something, like where I'm going to go up to the. I was like, I don't want it.
I realize that I am like ultimate fangirling over all things books, and any excuse to be excited about it, I will dive in 100%. So if I can get like 10% out of you guys, that would be great. Okay. That would make my mission.
The truth is I think that actually like my response to it is because that like anticipation is basically like a maybe fun or exciting form of anxiety. I'm like, I don't want that. You know me. I'm just so blah about stuff that like I just don't like, being that kind of stimulus, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I do. I guess your heart does start to race a little bit with the excitement. He's gotta.
Yeah.
Can't let that guy fluctuate too much, I guess.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you about one of the books that I had that feeling with. And just to kind of make it fun, what I'll do is I'll reveal at the end, so that you have to have practice with.
Oh man, the anticipation.
So I won't reveal what the book is called, of course. Yes, I'm just putting you through torture immediately. Okay. So the book that I selected for our topic today is part of a series. So it's a manga, and I just love this series. So it is kind of a slice of life manga, and I'm trying to think of how the best way to kind of explain it. It's kind of a slice of life with fractured society. There's an alien invasion. It takes place in Tokyo, and it just has this element of being very sweet, as you would expect from a slice of life. You're like, oh, this is so like everyday, like just like appreciation of small things and interactions that you have with your schoolmates, and very endearing. And then you have this element where it like I kind of said, the fractured society. So you're literally in Tokyo, and there's destruction, and it's very gritty. And there's this. It's not even a threat of alien invasion. They are there. The books, when the manga starts, it's happened. They've arrived, and it's dealing with a society that has this threat that is literally right above them all the time, and kind of dives into what that does politically in their society, and how it affects these young women, and their relationships with each other, relationships with their society, and um, it's really it's a really interesting series, and the artwork is um, fantastic too. Kind of like what I was saying, this artist one. A lot of times when you get manga, the you'll have many panels where the background is kind of blank, where they're just like you're focusing on this character right now, or the background is very subtle. And this is not. So there's a lot going on. And it definitely balances that element of kind of gritty, grungy with like softer and more um, sweet, cute elements. And of course, that comes from the girls in the story. And I do have a little quote, because I do think that this kind of showcases uh, the series really well. Just this little quote from the manga, the first one. But I'm not going to let anything get me down. Until I destroy this false and superficial world, the real threat isn't the invaders, it's me. And the series is called Dead Dead Demons Dead Destruction. And it's by Inio Asano. I think I said that correctly. I love this series, and the hardest part about it is having to wait for your manga that you're waiting on. You know it's released, you know that it exists, but it's in Japan, and you have to wait until that is translated into English and it can show up in the States. And sometimes you have no clue how long it's going to take. Sometimes that's pretty quick, sometimes it's not. So it can get rough. But the series is so good, and it's so worth the wait. So if you haven't checked this out, I highly, highly recommend it. It's wonderful. Do you guys have any books or series that you get excited, you look forward to? Well, I won't say excited. You look forward to their release.
So yes is the answer. And I even got to shortcut. Like I didn't have to experience the anxious anticipation of what this manga that you were revealing is, because of course I've also read a couple of volumes of that, and so when you started describing it, I was like, oh, okay, this is what she's talking about, which meant that I got to continue to not anticipate. um, yeah, okay, so I mean, I have also, by coincidence, you stole my theme here, but I also have a couple of manga series. There's probably like several different series of manga that are not yet complete, that I have to wait for volume to volume, and like you said, the waiting for translation. Waiting for them to even get written in Japan, because I'll follow that, and then waiting for them to get translated. But again, I just kind of like, occasionally I just check. Like if it occurs to me randomly, then I'm like, okay, this is the next. Oh yeah, okay, that next one finally got translated or whatever. Then I can go pick it up. And the trick there is that like this kind of goes against what I was saying, because to some degree I have to research it myself, because the bookstore won't necessarily always get the next volume. And in fact, so like this is where my lack of anticipation backfires, because one particular series that I do absolutely love, it's like one of the best manga I've ever read in my life. It makes me laugh out loud all the time, which there's very few things that make me laugh out loud, especially in reading. But it actually, like, I was like, oh, I guess this series like maybe didn't get finished, or maybe they're not translating it to English anymore, because I got to a volume, it was like volume 8 or something, and then the bookstore just stopped getting them. And like, I mean, like 2 years went by where I was like, well, I guess that's done, and I'd occasionally look if I was at the bookstore again, and I'd look and I'd be like, nope, they're still not in a volume 9. I guess that series is over. And and then I was like, one day I was like, well, maybe I should just look it up. Like, I should look it up. And I looked it up, and it turned out, of course, that there were like 8 more volumes already translated to English that I just didn't know about. Because I was like, I'm not gonna look into it. I don't. If it shows up, it's fine. Uh, so, so then I got to order a bunch of them at a time. Um, and so now I'm caught up again. I've read all the way up to what's currently available, and now I make it a point. I'm like, okay, well, because they can tell me the date, so they'll be like, okay, well, it's going to be this date. And again, even the very most recent volume, I like went to the bookstore and was like, I think this book was supposed to come out about now, and they were like, yeah, it came out 2 months ago or whatever. And I'm like, cool, order me a copy of that. Um, anyway, the
That
manga,
was anticipation for you.
that was anticipation for me. Yeah, exactly. So the manga that I'm talking about is, it is also a slice of life. I guess there's no really other way to describe it. It's a school life manga. It starts out with a young woman in her freshman year of high school, and like a lot of manga, I think a lot of these are pretty formulaic in that it starts out with her freshman year, and of course it's like a turning point, and she's like, oh, I was like this person in middle school, but now I'm going to become this, I'm going to get over my flaws and my embarrassments of middle school, and now I'm going to be cooler, and this is the thing I'm going to become in now that I'm starting my beautiful high school career or whatever. And it basically all kind of just falls on its face, and she completely fails in all of her endeavors and ends up almost becoming like worse. A central theme of it is that she's trying to make friends and she wants to be popular. And I think also like maybe a boyfriend, but it seems like just friends in general is more the theme. And but basically she ends up becoming more of a recluse than she ever was before. And as a pretty reclusive person myself, I could relate a lot to this in my high school life, And there's just certain scenes and certain jokes in there that I am like, this person is 100% me. Like they've said things that I'm like, I 100% thought that. like terrible, like self-destructive or whatever, or like hostile things towards other people and things like that. Anyway, and so there's a couple of things that I really like about it. One is that the main character, it's a bit like racy, honestly. Like the main character is kind of basically a pervert and thinks like kind of messed up, perverted thoughts sometimes. And it's not like, even though on the surface it kind of has this like, oh, this is another sweet bubblegum slice of life story about a young girl in high school, and won't it be beautiful? And then like she's like busted in class like looking at porn, which is just something you never see in manga. I've like never seen that in a manga where it's like, that girl just got busted looking at porn in the middle of class. And then so there's stuff like that. Actually, a couple of my favorite images that I've always wanted to make like a t-shirt of or something are like 2 different images of her just sitting on the toilet. And it's not like vulgar, it's not a lurid image. She's like literally just sitting in there like hiding out from people. So she's like fully clothed. She's just on the toilet, and she just has these like funny expressions on her face, like she's kind of daydreaming. And then the other thing that I really like about it is that, again, like typically with the slice of life, and even those like, oh, I'm having trouble making friends, or I'm such an outsider kind of stories, it's kind of like the old like the 80s romantic film trope of like, oh, that person is so ugly and unattractive, but look, they took off their glasses and let their hair down, and now suddenly they're beautiful and they never knew it. And I hate that. Like, and so much manga does that, where it's like, oh, I'm this person and I'm so isolated and nobody likes me, and really they're like smart and beautiful and good at everything, right? And it's like, well, there's no reason for this person to feel this way. Yeah, I understand that people, like, it doesn't matter. Maybe you can be that person. You can be successful and smart and still feel isolated, and that's fine. But you know, manga and anime, they tend to illustrate characters as being very beautiful, and I really like that. Frankly, the main character is not. Like, she has some like cute moments, but for the most part she's even illustrated as being kind of a funny looking weirdo, you know, like her eyes are not drawn, you know, sparkling cute, and like there's even scenes where like other characters will try to kind of like doll her up or something. They're like, well, if you just like changed your outfit or did your hair or something, and it really just makes her look worse. And so I appreciate that they were like, well, here's our ugly main character, and she's kind of a weirdo, like genuinely a weirdo, and so let's see how her high school life goes. Like I said, it definitely is a laugh out loud. Like, it really genuinely cracks me up. Every volume has not been a letdown. Like, every volume I laugh several times. So if you don't know already, this manga is called, and this is the best part, it's called No Matter How I Look at It, It's You Guys' Fault I'm Not Popular. For short, they call it Watamote, because obviously that's a hell of a title, and you can look it up by either Watamote or the full title, No Matter How I Look at It, It's You Guys' Fault I'm Not Popular.
The title is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm feeling left out. I guess I'll tell two smaller stories. We'll put it like that. I'll tell the manga story first. I originally got introduced to this series a long time ago. It was actually the anime, and really enjoyed it. It kind of puts itself on as, it sort of projects the image that this series sort of projected was one thing, and then when you would watch it after a little while, you realized it was kind of another. It was actually a lot deeper and a lot more thoughtful than like a screenshot might tell you. Well, that series died. You know, that anime series died, and then I think they've tried to reboot this at least twice more, possibly 3 times. I don't even know. Yeah, I think I don't even know what state it's in. Yeah, and anybody who knows manga would probably already know what this is. And I really enjoyed the original series immensely. And so at some point I started to read the manga. It became hard to get some of the earlier issues. I guess they were in between printings or something. But just so when I finally did collect this series, it was just had this beautiful line work, just fantastic. Obviously, hyper violent, highly inappropriate in some ways, but just very, very well done despite all that. And then obviously the creator passed away. I believe it was last year, and so and with the series unfinished. So in kind of preparation for this, I looked up to see what the state was, and apparently he had revealed the what he planned to do to wrap that story up with a co-worker, someone who worked with him closely since the beginning. I think the manga began in '89, and that companion that he had, that person who would work with him, is going to continue the series and with no deviations and just wrap the series up. And obviously that's getting brought. Dark Horse has been producing like library editions, really nice like faux leather covers for a while. It's the Berserk series. I'm going to try to pronounce the creator's name, and I am terrible at this stuff, but I think I'm going to try anyways because I like to set myself up for failure. It's Kentaro Miura. I'm certain that's wrong, but you already know it. It doesn't matter. You had to hear it anyway, so it's too late.
Kentaro sounds right.
Yeah, but anyways, just a really great series, and it was kind of like this. Oh no, like that series will never be finished, which sort of harkens back to an experience I had another time where it was like, oh no, this series is doomed. The series I like is doomed. Why why this is going to happen. But yeah, so it's refreshing to hear that someone who'd worked so closely with him for so long plans to complete that, and that Dark Horse has come in and said that they plan to continue to publish these collector's editions of the and like so these where they collect like 2 or 3, I think it's 3 issues in one volume. They plan to do that, as long as they're able. So that's refreshing, because I was like, don't tell me that don't tell me it's going to be another, false start or something like it's, we only got so many books. So definitely was a little worried about that. But that original anime series was just so good. It was just, it had moments that were a little, didn't work quite as well. There were episodes that weren't as good as others, but for I would say 80-90% of them were just phenomenal. Which, it was very stood out from the rest of the crowd at that time too. If I remember right, there's not much else that was like that. Book that I meant to talk about. Read a book last year. It was a fantasy series, and I get attracted to stuff, to read things, because other people don't like it. So really, for some reason, if I hear people say, well, I didn't like this, or I didn't think it was very good because of this, and I kind of tell that the reasons aren't very valid, or they're not, I kind of like, seems a little suspect to me. So that always intrigues me. So this book, I'd kind of put this book on my list of books I wanted to read because people were complaining about it. I'm like, well, some people were just going, this book is amazing, and other people were saying, oh, this book was too hard to read, and I didn't like it, and this and all this other stuff. So I happened to find that book at some point. I'm like, oh, you know what? This is that book that somebody was talking about. I'm gonna read it. And it was certainly maybe my favorite. I don't want to say it was the best book I read that year, because I think there was some other like phenomenal book that I read that year that was a much older book. I don't remember what that book was offhand, but this particular book stood out for me as maybe being certainly the best book of new fiction I'd read in a long time, and maybe one of the best books I've ever read. That seems a little strong to say it like that. One of my favorite books that I ever read. Best book is kind of a different criteria, I think. But maybe it might even fit into that. Even it was phenomenally well written, and just such a good book. A very, very powerful, moving book, which is unexpected for a book that's a fantasy series, and so very uncharacteristically of me, as soon as I finish that book, when I read something, I don't like to do too much investigating into the writer. I don't do a whole lot of that while I'm reading a book, because I don't want it to color my perception. So as soon as I finished the book, I was like, wait, this is a series? Okay, then yeah, I need to get, where is the next book? When does it come out? It comes out, I literally pre-ordered it right there. I think I was listening to the audiobook at work, and I think I literally stopped in the middle of what I was doing and pre-ordered the book right there. Which is highly unusual for me to do something like that. I just don't. And that was Marlon James's Black Leopard, Red Wolf. And the sequel, the second book in it, was a 3-part series, is Moon Witch, Spider King. And I have not had a chance to read that yet. I have it. It's come out. But I was very excited for it. That Black Leopard, Red Wolf was not a book that I'd ever read anything really like that before. It definitely wasn't. It definitely did things I'd never seen done before. The writing was phenomenal. The way that he has that character's voice is so prominent in that book. It was just it really blew me away. It was one of those books that you find that you almost don't want to tell other people about, because you don't want anybody else to mess with it. It's like, oh, I like this book a lot. I don't want anybody else to know about this book. Somebody else is going to mess it up. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that book. I thought it was just really, really, but the other thing I should say about it, is that there's a slight caveat to that, is that many people, which explains why it has such a love-hate relationship, would not enjoy it, because it is very direct and blunt and harsh and extreme. And none of those things are exploitative, but they're all very authentic to the world and the writing and the characters. It's never done for kicks or perversely. But I can absolutely see where someone who can't tolerate that sort of thing would think that this is bad for that reason. But it's not. It's It's actually excellent for that reason, because of how it handles those subjects in such a profound and compassionate, in a sense, way. It's such an interesting, a complicated story about a complicated person, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna stop.
I'm actually looking forward to that one myself. That's one that you recommended, and
Yeah,
actually,
it was.
I think you got me my copy. I think,
Yes.
yeah, my copy was a gift from you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's neat. It's cool. So I want to reread it, though. It's one of those things. I don't want to. I want to talk about it more, but I really need to reread it. So I can kind of put it all together in my head a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's funny too, like you were mentioning how you almost don't want to tell anybody about the book that you love because you're like, I don't want anybody to ruin it. And it's like, there is like this sense of like, I love this so much that if you give me a funny look when I tell you about this, you're done. Like,
Right.
Dead to me.
It's like you can't.
You don't get to critique.
So I've
You
got a
gotta-
questionnaire
you
for you. You
Yeah.
fill out this questionnaire, and I'll evaluate your answers, and we'll
Yeah.
move forward from there. We'll see how you
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that. I
It's
also
just
like that you seek out books that people dislike too. Um, I think often it's really easy to jump in on stuff that is hyped up. But I think it's rare that people challenge other people's opinions when they're negative and it takes effort to investigate. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not very often people are like, oh, someone said this book is bad. I'm going to check it out.
Right.
I'm going to decide that for myself.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know that I go that far, but I definitely am like anti-popular. Like if it's like, oh, this book is like on the New York Times bestseller, I'm like, well, that book probably sucks. like,
I have questions.
like this
No.
book won this book won all these awards. This book is like the most popular. I'm like, yeah, I'm not reading that. That's obviously crap.
I never have a problem with awards. Awards are okay because I feel like there's a lot more of a more measured critique when there's an award. I feel like, so I'm good with awards, but when it's popular, I'm always kind of like, because my experience is then usually the popular stuff is not that does not equate good, and we've seen that I can think of like I don't even have to think. I could count off 10 books very easily, I'm sure, that were popular but weren't great. And that's probably why maybe the anticipation thing doesn't hit me as hard, because it's usually like that's what gets drummed up. They get, the books that really get drummed up are these books that are really popular. A lot of times those books are not books that hold up in the long term. They're not books that stick with you, But not always. That's not always the case.
Right. I think a book being popular, it's, you don't want to like disregard the book, because what does that really mean? If a book's popular, chances are it had really good marketing, which means it was probably funded really well, and marketed really well. And that's really something that is, not all quality books have that opportunity, but there's a lot of really great books that do have that. So it doesn't necessarily deter me. I will question whether I'm like, is this book as good as people are saying, or was it just marketed really well and it fit a temporary need? You know what I mean? Is it long lasting? So, because of course there's books that are popular that are just fun, and you read it and you're done, and you'll probably never read the book again. But you had an all right time reading it. Then it's just junk food. It didn't have to have substance. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with books that are just fun, just entertainment. Pure entertainment is cool. I don't mind that at all. I guess I don't know.
No, I know
books that
exactly
are,
what you mean. I
yeah,
totally
I don't
agree.
want to get into I think we know what I mean. It's fine. I won't try to explain it. Yeah, but that's part of it. I think it's fun to not necessarily pick out books that, because I think Black Leopard, Red Wolf, I think it was well received. I mean, as far as like, I think critically it was well received, it definitely has a following. Certainly, I mean, it did well, but there were so many such vehement detractors, and some of the reviews that just kind of see like, what's this book about? And I was like, oh, this just seems, and it just kind of came off, and I'm like, this just doesn't seem right, I'm like, and it's just sort of like, it's so hard to tell, and I'm like, and that always makes me want to say, well, I want to know for myself. I want to judge this book. I don't want to read anything else about it. I want to know for myself and figure out what I think.
I guess I'll kind of jump on this opportunity to change gears a little bit here and say that I do want, because I mean, I think every episode, obviously, although I don't think I got it on the last one, but every episode that I can, I have to squeeze in my Dragon Talks About Stephen Brust moment.
You gotta have a Brust moment.
Yeah.
The Brust moment. We need like a twinkly sound that comes on when anytime you mention Brust. Be
No,
like,
I have the
the
sound
Brust.
bite. I have the sound bite.
Oh.
I just got to send it to our editor. Yeah, so that you can...
have a sound bite for Brust?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can play it right now, but you
Okay.
guys won't hear it. So I have to send the soundbite to the editor so that he can edit in the soundbite. So it'll go right here. You ready? Here it is. Cue up the soundbite.
Really like to...
Oh, right here.
Right here. Okay, and then okay, so
amazing.
The point.
I'm blown away.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Okay.
Do you think Brust will like your soundbite? Do you think he'll be like, "Oh yes, thank you"?
Yeah, why not?
Like, Dragon, true fan.
True fan. Yeah. Someday he's gonna recognize. I'm gonna get hit up by Stephen Brust. He's gonna be like, "Hey, thanks for all the props on that radio show."
If this podcast / YouTube channel could do one thing for you, I hope that it is that you get a hat tip from Brust.
A little hat tip. Yeah. Oh man.
He's like that's literally the only reason
Yeah. That's literally why I'm doing this.
This is really where your anticipation is coming from.
That's where it is.
This is the most excited I've ever heard in your life.
I am so excited. I'm waiting for Stephen Brust to put me in the thank yous, or whatever special thanks tos in the next book. Thanks to Dragon.
There's gonna be a sub. We're gonna have a sub channel called. We'll have a sub channel called Literally Brust.
Literally. Ooh, yes, I love it.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Maybe that's something that you need to do is have your own little series where you reread all of Brust's books, and it could be Literally Brust the series. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I'm excited for you.
All right. So the reason that I'm bringing up Stephen Brust today is because of the Vlad Tolstoy novels, which I have mentioned probably once or twice, I think. There are, in theory, there should be 18 of them, because there's one for they're each named after one of the great houses of the series, and so there are 17 great houses. But then the first book, chronologically, although not the first published book, is called Tolstoy, the name of the main character, Vlad Tolstoy. So it would be 17 books, one for each house, plus one named after the main character. So for a total of 18 books. And this is I'm a sinner right now because I don't know the exact number that's out right now. I want to say it's 14. I have them all. I own every one of them. I just don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I want to say there's like 14 of them out right now. Point is, series isn't done yet. And so there's been not even a whisper. He's been doing other things, and I've read his other stuff. I read Good Guys. I haven't read The Immortalist yet, but I'm going to read that when I have it. I just need to read it. Good Guys was great, by the way. Definitely recommend it. But I want to see the next one in the series. Got to get that next Vlad Tolstoy novel.
Do you hear this? Do you hear this? This is straight on anticipation. This is
I'm not.
excitement.
I mean, I'm not.
Yes,
You
you.
know,
Oh, you can't.
when
I
it
hear it's been
happens,
recorded. It's
when it
recorded.
happens, it's fine.
Okay, so scenario. Here we go. Scenario. You've got some spare cash laying around. Okay, and you get like in a newsletter or something, an early one. So you open this right when it comes out. That you can get like a limited edition hardcover or something like that, at this local bookstore, but you got to like wait in line and the whole thing. Are you're going for? I just want to know,
I would do it.
like,
Yes,
is that a
yeah.
scenario?
I'm poor,
Okay.
so if it's like I gotta go to like New York to do it, then no, I'm probably out. Unfortunately.
That's why I'm trying to say like it's something like feasible. It's not something like, well, you have to have $5,000, airplane tickets, illegal passports,
But if it's like in the state, yeah, I'm making that happen. Oh man, if he did a book signing, I would be all about it. I have,
We're just
I have.
100%.
I think he lives in like Minnesota or Arizona,
that's
or one of the two.
okay. Oh,
one of the two.
This is. You already know where he lives.
That's manageable. That's
yeah,
manageable.
it's in the about the author thing, and of course different volumes
I
have
know,
different
yeah.
books,
Sure.
but I have now. This is my quick brag. Should we do the soundbite again? This is my quick brag, is that I now have a first edition, first print copy of the entire Vlad Tolstoy series and the Keavrin romances, which is the like prequel series. I have a
Oh,
first,
and the Keavrin romances.
yeah, I
fantastic.
have a first edition, first print of the whole set. So yeah,
That's
hardback
awesome.
when available. Some of them weren't hardback because they early on they were just they were only mass market paperbacks. But I even have the first prints of those.
That's awesome.
I even have one that's signed, but I didn't get it signed. I like bought it, and it was a signed copy.
Oh man,
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
that must hurt a little. You're like, he signed this for someone else,
for
and they
someone
just
else.
gave it away.
Yeah,
They
and
just
they
gave
just
it away.
gave it away to
Well.
me. Yeah, so I
For someone else, I don't know what was he thinking.
so I gotta get that. But yeah, if he ever does a book signing again, and if it's reasonable for me to get there, I would definitely go. That would be awesome.
What about?
So, yeah,
Doesn't he
that's
have a
so-
band?
He does have a band. To be honest,
What?
I've never listened to the band. I'm like,
Okay, I was like, are you gonna go see him play?
nah, I don't know. I don't. Okay, Stephen Brust, please don't get mad at me. I need that. I need that thank you in the book. But no, I don't know. I'm afraid, I guess, to some degree, because I'm like, what if it's really bad? Like not bad. I
What
don't
if-
believe in objective good and bad when it comes to art. But what if I don't like it? That's the thing.
Oh, if you didn't like it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Yeah,
then,
that could-
then it would crush you. It would crush
little
you.
bit.
You like
It's-
can't even open yourself to that opportunity
yeah.
to be crushed.
It's kind of like what oh shoot, it's kind of like what Virgil was talking about, like you don't want to know too much about the author because you don't want that to taint your image of the thing, of the work, and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
important. Like I don't think that you should necessarily look at the life of an artist to that shouldn't necessarily be a reflection of the work, right? There's probably a line there somewhere, like I don't know, like is it okay to have Hitler's
Yeah.
paintings or whatever? But you know, but yeah. So I guess there's a thing there where I'm kind of like, well, I'd rather not open myself up to that.
More importantly, you're like, Stephen Bruss, if you were to ever do another book signing in our state, Dragon will be there.
Yes. Yep.
And he will well, maybe not beat your way to the front of the line, but you will be there.
Yep. I will patiently and without any sense of anticipation wait in line.
With the calmest anticipation that you've ever seen.
Yep.
But I think the important point, the important takeaway here is that if that event happened, that he would be there, just like you would, Ari.
Yes.
So the The technique
I'll go
might
with
be
you,
different.
and I'll push us to the front of the line. No, I'm kidding.
So it's still there. Yeah, I don't know. That's cool.
Well, guys, I feel like we did it. Like, we talked about our anticipation and lack of anticipation when it comes to new releases and books that we love. I feel like we can call this a success.
I think so.
Anyone who is listening, if there are books that you love, if there are books that you anticipate, if you want to share a story, so in the comments below, that will always be something fun and exciting to share with us and other listeners. Virgil, is there any other messages that you would send out to the listeners?
Not really. I don't know. Not really. No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know. Thank you for. I mean, I want to do it. It's like, just go. Just do something else. Go outside and play ball.
Yeah.
Go ride your bike, kids. Oh, I'm just joking.
Reading is for nerds.
No, I don't.
You should anticipate our next episode for
really.
PBR.
I don't know. I was just gonna do it. Yeah, I think that was good. I'm just gonna wrap it up and just say, well, thanks for joining us and that kind of stuff. So that's it. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to have you back again soon for our next discussion, which is still in the void of. Oh, I don't like that. I don't know where I was gonna go with that. That didn't work at all.
Still in the void.
Still in the void. I was like, I had like an analogy.
Realm of possibilities.
Yeah. Well, now it is. We'll try this again. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Literally Books. We hope you come back next time and join us in our next discussion. We just have no idea what it is yet. So, till then, so long. Keep reading.